is the reality.
Yeah.
But you have, maybe like last 2 months, leaned out a lot. Well, you always were lean.
Yeah.
But it seems like you've...
It's hard to say why. It gets the quality of my food so much better.
David, we spoke about it last night.
Yeah.
Where I was like, what changed for you?
Yeah. We were speaking about it and I was like,
So what changed for you then?
it's hard to say. Have we started?
Yeah.
What changed for me in terms of why I'm in the shape I'm in now? And like,
A bit lower.
I don't know, it also doesn't feel
Yeah, that's cool.
difficult anymore. I think obviously it doesn't feel difficult because you've done it for so long and you've gone through those mistakes and issues. But I think, what do you say? I just handle stress so much better now.
Is it the maturity of, you know, the lessons that you learned when you're in the UK that's kind of, now with stress or whatever that comes along, the diet will stay the same. You'll handle the stress, but it's not going to affect the way you're eating or the way you are training.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for so you know what the thing was? I joined a mentorship when I was in the UK for coaching. And the main guy, super successful, he just said something one day that went into my head. He was like, guys, go speak to successful people. They handle stress way better than unsuccessful people. So I was like, fucking makes sense. You know what I mean? It just went in my head like, okay, Dave, if you want to do well, you got to get grip on that. Otherwise, you're going to be in this reactive, chaotic, you know what it's like. We've all had periods of our life where we don't do well, stress-wise. I just thought to myself, well, shit, that's just got to be something that becomes part of you. And I don't know why it was that statement that really sent like a thing in my head where I was like, okay, if you want to proceed with your life, you need to get in control of it. And you can ask Adet.
Did you forget her name there?
No, because so many people call her Coach Missy. So then sometimes I like to say, which name am I going to say? You understand? But yeah, I was terrible at handling stress. Terrible, I can say with certainty.
But I know for a fact I was the exact same. So in my previous relationship, I was always, I would say, looking back now, I would say I was always in a bad mood. Or at least I felt like I was always in a bad
irritable?
mood. Irritable? I would take out business stress maybe on her, or I would, not purposefully, but just instinctively or like subconsciously, if she says something that might not have actually needed me to get annoyed or anything, I would get annoyed. If
so
I was stuck in,
it
was in everything. It was the stress of trying to build and trying to grow and trying to make, and it was nothing to do, it was only business. Yeah. Like in my life, I've never had stress from anything else other than trying to be successful.
Yeah.
And that definitely influenced the relationship greatly. And I mean, it was like 5-6 years of that relationship where, looking back now, I was like, I was a terrible person. Like, and it's interesting how you grow and you develop as a person, is when you look back, you're like, I was awful.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Like even for Adets, I've been pretty bad at certain points where, like you say, you just become consumed by what you think is important, which is success, which is status, you know, and then you drive towards that and you don't value what's really important. And you also, the abuse was not the right word I was looking for there, but you devalue that in the pursuits of that. Yeah. You know? But yeah, I can totally relate. But then, do you have to go through all of that to then be better? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's definitely people that are able to, I don't know, maybe if you've got a mentor, like in that period of my time, maybe I didn't have a mentor, or I had 100%. Like my dad was giving me advice on business and stuff, but they also didn't see the stress that I was having, that obviously would, that in the relationship would be shown.
100%.
So those kind of things, if you have someone maybe guiding you a bit more, and because my dad didn't think, okay, Jesse's 22 now, he's trying to make as much money, let me give him guidance on dealing with the world, because I mean also the world is so different now to what it was when he was younger.
100%.
So I think I would say I'm glad I went through that. No, I wouldn't change it for anything, but I don't know, I personally wouldn't have been able to, and I think you the same, is we are the people we are today because we had to experience certain things.
100%.
And I think most people are kind of like that.
Sometimes I think to myself, fuck, there were such miserable times where I was such a negative, miserable, slightly toxic person. And then I think to myself, especially at the time, I was just like, fuck, I'm not liking this person who I am. But then when you reflect, you're like, you had to do that. You had to be that prick, in a sense, to be able to change for the better. But yeah, life's a pretty cool journey.
Life is cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned status, and I think that's what everyone, more males are definitely more status driven.
100%.
But women are obviously as well. But
100%.
it's not actually about money. Money just reflects the status. So if you've got a lot of money, people see you as someone who's achieved something, or someone that's, the public eye will look more at.
Yeah.
But it's the status of money.
Yeah.
Like if you drive, it's not, maybe sometimes it might not be the fast car. The Mustang that you had. It might not have actually been the Mustang, but it was the status that the Mustang brought you.
Or you think it brings you.
You think,
yeah. You perceive your thing.
But because I think the vast majority of society will present you with that status through the Mustang, but like it's just with money, with cars, those kind of things present status to the vast majority, or at least what we have been taught to think.
100% conditions, I think.
Yeah.
I know for myself, me and Adet, so we need to replace my car soon. We need to move soon. And like we also just spoke about it, and we were like, let's just downgrade slightly. Not that we live excessively by any means, but let's just downgrade slightly. And we don't need to show the world that necessarily. And then we can use that money for much more important things. So like Adet's going to join a mentorship. There's things that we want.
You're having a kid soon.
Yeah. There's things we want to invest in, because I'm also acutely aware that I cannot be a coach forever. So do you want to be, my big thing for me, I always tell myself, if I get tempted by these luxuries, say, Dave, do you want to look rich now, or do you want to be wealthy when you're 40? And you don't want to get to 40 and you've maybe made good money, but you've lived this life in credit. And then reality will kick in, and then there's maybe a kid around.
Yeah.
And you can't provide them with what they need because you decided to serve your ego when you were younger instead of being smart. So that's a big thing for us. And you see it in the fitness industry as well. It's big, flashy. But
you mentioned the because we were talking earlier about the kid and how you have to be selfish now and not have a kid. But I don't think it is selfish, because you just mentioned you are downgrading so that you can eventually, when a kid's around, it's not like, okay, it doesn't matter about what the cost of schooling. It doesn't matter about all these things. So I think it also is selfless in a sense, because when the kid comes, the kid's 100%. In no way to blame 100%. For maybe being treated with less care.
That's what I spoke to her about. I said, like, we need to do things now. And I said, if I want to send my kids to X school, don't have to worry or think about it. It's like, I prepared, the money's there, do it, give them what they, because I'm sure it would be like, you would be proud to be like, I'm not restricted to force them into something that I possibly didn't want as well, in terms of a school or area to live in or whatever the case may be. So definitely in that mindset of, don't even have a kid yet, but thinking that would be far more rewarding to me in 5 years' time to be like, hey, we're sending X to the best school that we can get them in. Done. I feel like that, delaying that gratification, that would be powerful compared to, hey, let's buy a new Audi or a BM now. You understand? I feel like that level of excitement, fulfillment, joy would be tenfold to doing something now. That's pretty superficial.
Yeah, but I in terms of like the BM thing and the house thing and the business and money, it's difficult because it's such a fine line, because to measure your business's growth, you need to make more money.
Of course.
You need to be making more money to say, okay, the business has 10x or whatever.
100%.
To see, the growth in certain aspects. Okay, now I'm hiring more staff. Or so like working towards that. But that also then you have to get in your own head is thinking like, I don't want to be driven by money, but if I want to build something, it needs to be money. It's reflectant on the amount of money it brings in. So 100%. It's difficult because I catch myself as like, okay, I've got more money now, I can buy this. Is that me because I want the thing and I'll get enjoyment from the thing, or is it because society might think it is and I've got the resources and it's just being, I don't care, flippant about money. So it's a difficult, line to walk.
I just made a video before this, obviously, with my own content. And the thing I had to do with my business, of course, that money does dictate, for sure. Like you said, you want to grow, and a metric is money. But the thing I kind of said to myself was, cool, the money represents the value that I can bring to the market. Because the market doesn't die. If you're bringing value with your podcast and your studio, the market will come pay you to use it because you're bringing value. The same with coaching. The market will pay you what you're worth, and it's a direct metric of the impact that you're having.
If you want this water, you can have it.
But then coincidentally, there was a month last year. We actually had, I'll be honest, we had our worst month in 2 years. And it wasn't through lack of effort or anything. It was just it was multiple things that all happened in 1 month. And then I saw how much we made, and I was like, fuck, haven't seen that in a long time. But then I sat about and thought about, Dave, are you still happy? Did you do a good job this month? Are you providing value? And it was like, yes, yes, yes. So I was like, well, most of the metrics are met, so I'm still happy, which was new to me. Because in the past, it would have been like, that number means I'm shit. You understand?
Yeah.
So I think for sure, I think you got to measure money. Anyone does. But I think you've just got to blend it a little bit with other things as well. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll chase the money and forget about the other metrics. And then I heard you speak yesterday where you said you're working till 1 in the evening, bank balance was high, but you're eating a lot of sweets and lifestyle wasn't great. So then you start chasing the money metric. But eventually that becomes boring.
Yeah.
You know?
No, exactly. And also then there's so much detriment to other aspects of your life. Okay, cool, my bank balance is more, but okay, well, actually no one knows my bank balance is more. No one is with me at that time.
Then you buy shit to show people your bank balance is more.
Exactly. And
because you're tired, because you're exhausted, and because you want that validation. So then you pursued more money because you thought that was the only metric. Then you spend that money to prove to people that you have money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I heard an awesome quote. It was, if you believe money doesn't buy happiness, you've obviously haven't given away enough.
That's great.
So if you believe money doesn't buy happiness, you obviously haven't given enough away.
Yeah.
So like, yes, money allows you to obviously help other people. It allows you to reduce the amount of friction and stress in your life, maybe.
For sure.
But it can also add to it largely. I mean, you see, the more 100%. Your business grows, there's more stress to keep it going.
Yeah.
100%. There's more people to deal with. There's more, systems in place that you need to manage. So more money, more problems, less money, less problems, well, less money, same problems. Like, there's problems with everything.
Yeah.
I think that's also maybe what humans need to understand is Bill Gates, he's got 1 million problems. The average Joe on the side of the street has 1 million problems. It's just your mindset in that time period.
Yes.
The same way you said you might have made less money in that month, but you were still like, okay, I'm the same person. My values are the same. My core principles are the same. I am still happy because my level of, the metric that I measure myself and my worth isn't on how much people are paying me, because then the teacher deserves to be less of a person than Bill Gates or whatever.
No, 100%. And also the money can change. It could be, change the next month.
Yeah.
So it was like, was I going to, and that's the thing, if you respond in a time of stress with, how you respond is everything. Had I sat there and sulked and fucking told myself I'm a piece of shit, then the next month would have been the same.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, cool, it's out of my control, it happened, move forward. And then the next month was fantastic. But it's because of that perception of, how do you view it, and then how you're going to use that to influence you. But sulk for like an afternoon.
Yeah, no, that's fair. You have to. So I find the less I fixate, like if I look at the people in my lives that maybe have less money, that maybe are happy with a job that is lower paying or whatever, they constantly, not always, and not everyone that has a low paying job thinks like this, but they'll think money's such an issue. I have low money. This is so expensive. Look at the cost of that. Look at this. That's, I can't spend money on that. And then you get in the cycle of thinking how expensive things are and fixating on money. And that's why you actually have less.
100%.
And it's tough because I'm also in that space where, especially, you own your own business. You have to be in that space of, okay, well, maybe it's not smart to spend money there, or maybe it's a bad decision to, maybe we need to invest in the business and actually spend money. That's expensive. But I saw this video where it was, and it's kind of out there. It doesn't really work, but it like putting in petrol. My car, it's a big Fortuner. It was like 1,800 Rand to put in petrol. And I'm thinking like, this is so expensive. But in the video, they were saying, you're not money's circulating. That money's coming back to you. So whatever you spend your money on, it's coming back to you. And if you look at life in a business sense, these waters, I obviously bought them and I paid for them.
Yeah.
But the clients that come to my studio may be like, okay, he's treating us a bit better. He's giving us water. So then they'll come back. The money I spend 100%. On the air freshener, okay, 100%. It smells nice. And so it's circulation. Yeah. Yes, it's expensive. The petrol, 1,000, almost 2,000 rand to fill in the tank. That's mad. But I'm getting to places. It's taking me to gym. I'm getting more healthier. I'm getting more fit. I'm 100%. Appreciating that. So it's circulation. Like but if you spend money on bad things, and obviously it's not the same way. Yeah. And that's also just kind of being smart with your money and being conscious, but not fixating on the lack of.
Yeah. I wonder though, it must be so much more difficult to be fixed into a job where there is a fixed money amount. And even if you work your nuts off, maybe get a 5% raise, maybe get a promotion in 4 years. I think to have a mindset, like you just said, which I agree with, it's much easier when you can influence your life in a much more direct way. If you only know you're getting X next month, you've got to watch that money closely because it might not come back. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like
as
see
efficiently.
Like you will say, like that, let's say that month you had a bad month. You will say, okay, well, what actions do I need to take? And you can take those actions to make more money. Whereas if you are a teacher and inflation has gone up like mad, 100%. What can you do? You can do your job to the best of your ability, but okay, well, maybe you'll get an annual raise, but that annual raise isn't keeping up with inflation anyway.
Exactly.
That's why maybe like if you have a job, I would get into sales with commission.
True.
Because then
you got more influence.
You got more influence of the harder I work, the more money I get. Whereas as a teacher, the harder I work, maybe the more people I will help, but you don't get paid any different.
Yeah.
That's also where your values kind of just need to... Like for me, obviously we all want to help people. Yeah. We all want people to benefit from having us in their lives. Yeah. But I like to see things grow, and being an entrepreneur, you can see things grow quickly with effort. Yeah. Whereas in a day-to-day job, a 9 to 5, you can put in a lot of effort, but you can't really see the growth as quick as what an entrepreneur can.
But then I wonder, of course there is that. And then it's like, how do you change that situation, in terms of being employed? But then I think to myself, well, if you take the risk to do things yourself, then is that the reward that you are promised or deserve, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to say people in jobs don't deserve reward. I'm not saying that. But obviously there's massive risks that you take still, that I take. There's things where other people don't even have to think about those risks. So I wonder if it's like, well, you can't have everything and eat your cake.
Yeah. So I think that's also why, because everything in life, there's light and darkness. You can't create something without taking away from something else. So with business, there's a massive upside with being an entrepreneur, but there's a lot more stress. Yeah. To an extent. Obviously, there's still 9 to 5 jobs that have a lot of stress. Yes. But there's a lot less. There's a lot more stress. There's a lot more I need to, at least starting out, is I've got a million things to think about and handle. Yeah. And it's up to you. As an entrepreneur, there's no one coming and putting a pile of papers on your desk and be like, do this. Yeah. It's you. And you, at least initially, when you're starting the business, you putting the papers on your own desk and you finding things to do because you're not sure exactly what to do 100%. Until you find your way.
You're winging it for the majority.
Yeah, you're winging exactly. Yeah. And then you can have a massive upside because you can make 5 times more money from one month to another. Whereas having a job, yes, maybe it's more secure. You've got that 9 to 5, but there's no huge exponential growth that can happen from month to month. No. Whereas as the business owner, you can. Like we've all seen those posts where it's like the highest earning jobs, teacher, engineer, doctor, whatever. And at the top is entrepreneur and it says unlimited. Yeah. Because the earning potential as an entrepreneur is unlimited. Like obviously we all know we're not going to be earning unlimited money, but there's no reason why your coaching business can't be the biggest coaching business on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, technically it's possible. Of course, would that happen? Highly doubtful, but I agree.
But also that's also not your goal. Like you don't want to, because then you would have to sacrifice a billion things to be able to build a business that size. So it also just comes down to, what are you happy with? Because I'll be honest, I find myself a lot. I'll look at, these massive business owners and I'll be like, I want to get there. I want to be like that. Like I'll see, Alex Hormozy. You can talk?
in the bag. So then why didn't you look there if you asked me?
You know Alex Hormozy?
Yes, I was thinking of a quote right now when you were discussing that as well.
What's
from
the
him.
quote?
He was saying like, you know, pursue the goal of what you want to achieve. If you don't achieve it, you'll still be the achievement will be the way you changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In order to get for it. Yeah.
Because that's like the journey being the
100%.
destination, not the destination actually being any worth more.
100%.
So what was I saying? I've gone blank. The Alex Hormozy thing. So like, yes. Okay. So I'll see like the Alex Hormozys, because I mean, he's like 32. So I see myself more in him than maybe Jeff or whatever, like Jeff Bezos or whatever, or Elon, because like they're old. Yeah. So like with him, I'll be like, I want to get to that level.
32,
but exactly. 100 million net worth at 32. It's ridiculous. But to get to that point, like I don't know if I would say it's probably a bit egotistical, but I've never looked up to anyone in the sense that I've looked at them and be like, I can't see how I could achieve that. Like, how can that person achieve that?
Yeah.
If I see someone that's achieved something, I've always had this belief that if I work hard enough, I can do what they've done.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a little bit of like delusions of grandeur or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, there is no limitation to anyone's potential.
Yeah.
If you're willing to put in the work. Obviously, like the Alexes, they had opportunities that might have pushed them to that limit that I might not have received. Or, you know, I've had opportunities that other people who are trying to start a business
100%.
might not get. So it's all about opportunities, who you know, and the work and you put in everything. But I've never looked at these people and thought like, I can't do that. I've always looked at these people like, I want to do that. But then I need to look at it and be like, am I looking at what they've achieved as a point of, you know, I want to truly achieve that? Or is it,
you like the sound of it,
the sound of it, and to see that other people will look at Jesse as the next Alex? Or like, am I looking at it from the validation point, or am I looking at the growth point?
I know what you mean. And it's the same you see in health and fitness. You see someone that's bossed in the gym, incredible physique. I want that. But then you've got to ask yourself, well, what level of responsibility did they accept to get there? Like if I look at someone like Alex Hormozy, I look at that and I think, how far deep down did he have to go into his mind and soul to become that person that can be that like effective with what they do, you know? And then also I was listening to an interview from him, and you see this a lot with people, I'm not an expert, but you see a lot with people that are hyper successful. They were mega insecure. There was something driving them when they were younger that was so strong that it made them like so obsessive. So
do you feel like you're not good enough? Because I know I do. I always feel like I'm not, and it's not maybe by the world's metrics or my parents or whatever, but for myself, I feel like what I have done is not enough.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just for me, because I just feel like I can do more. Like when you don't work on a particular day, and you like, bro, you actually could have worked. You could have.
Terrible. I guilt trip myself. You can ask Cadet, even on weekends when I need to take time off, I will guilt trip myself that I'm not working or doing something, and then it's not time off because I've become more anxious by doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's also the thing. I was watching, and Andrew Tate was saying this one thing where you're saying, if you dedicate yourself 100%, absolutely 100%, there is no reason why you can't achieve what you want. And that's true, because I know, and you've done it, most humans, like I can't see even Andrew Tate having done this. There's never a point in time where in one day, you've gone absolutely 100%.
No, it's not
There's not a day where I haven't been distracted by my phone. There's not a day where I haven't been distracted by my dog. So I haven't gone 100%. There hasn't been a day where I've worked 100% and fallen asleep at my desk and given absolutely everything.
Yeah.
But we can just try work to getting to that point as much.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
then we can, you know, maybe get more closer to what we're
100%.
chasing.
100%. But it's interesting because, like you say, there's no ways you could be 100% in a day, same as me. But then you see a large contingent of people who go into health and fitness journey, expect to be 100%. And then, of course, after 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks, bomb. So it's interesting how we can apply that to other areas, but not within certain areas.
So how would you then, in terms of nutrition, because I'm a firm believer of you in cheat meals or like refeed meals, however you want to phrase the term. But I cannot see anyone because we've been exposed to things like sugar that has caused us to have an addiction, to go cold turkey from any, like, have you seen this guy, Eddie Abu?
Don't think so.
I'll find him on Instagram now.
So,
I mean,
I think I know you're talking about.
This oak.
Yes, he was saying like full fat milk is sugar water the other day or something.
So have you seen his Instagram?
Yeah.
So I started following him when he was on like 60,000.
Oh, man.
And in 6 months, he's gone to like 1.4 million.
Yeah.
So he would always talk about, but he also does stupid things where he'll walk into a shop and hold a brand name thing and talk about how bad it is. Like, I think that's like a bit of Bible bashing type of stuff.
It's polarizing.
Yes.
Which is what you find
that's
is
why
doing
it's popular.
very well now, especially around nutrition.
Yes.
I sometimes think, how can I say this politely? I think a lot of people are looking to shift the blame within the health and fitness journey now. So it's not your fault, it's someone else. It's something else. So that when someone comes along and says, hey, full fat milk is like the worst thing on the earth, you're like, that's fucking it. So it's encouraging people to put that external reason as to why they haven't, progressed, and also fear. Fear sells so well these days.
Yeah.
Look at the news, look at everything.
No, it's terrible.
So if you create fear around nutrition, then people are like latch onto it.
Yeah.
And if you say the normal things like, hey, Jesse eats really well, like fucking most of the time, that's too boring. Jesse thinks sugar is so addictive that you can never lick a fruit again. You know what I mean? And because you're in incredible shape, if you say that,
people will believe it.
They will, 100%. If you say it enough and give some kind of emotional reasoning.
And some slight scientific backing.
100%.
Like some slight little bit of research that maybe other people won't do, then they'll believe you.
Yeah.
So, to that original point, I can't go, I would say, I definitely could push it more than a week, but I definitely could. But I can't say that you should completely cut sugar out of your life.
No, I don't see what's the reason for it.
Yeah. But also in terms of it, like the unhealthy aspects of maybe the inflammation and increasing cancer, like those kind of aspects.
But anything in excess is not good, But
that's why I'm talking about in terms of the 100%, the giving the 100%. Because if you were giving 100% to your diet, but also that being said, to be 100%, maybe to make you elevate your fat loss, introducing the sugar could help the fat hormones come back.
I also think that, look at the environment we live in. You're never going to be able to avoid it.
Yeah.
So
you can basically never go to a restaurant then. Even the basting on your steak has got a bit of sugar in it.
Exactly. So do you want to work with the environment or against it? And like I don't know, man. I just would never cope.
Because like his diet, I follow a large portion of it, but it's not like I'm saying I eat it like that 100% of the time, because we all know I have cheat meals. But he will, like his is just eggs, some form of red meat, or chicken, and like olives and avo.
So it's almost like caveman Mediterranean kind of style.
So he'll talk about, like, sometimes he'll have like potato and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he won't have anything processed. Like absolutely.
How old is he? He's quite ripped.
He's old, so he used to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So but he'll talk about his juice, and he used to use it.
Yeah.
He's really big. Like also like Liver King. Obviously everyone claimed that he was. Well, he claimed he was natty. We all knew he wasn't. But with this guy, I'm also looking at him like, bro, you're 60. You're big, he's bro. Jacked. How are you not understand? Like, we saw how small Arnold got actually when he he's always probably been on juice as well, but there's a massive difference. Whereas this guy's 60 and he's really big still.
Yeah, there's like a drop off eventually.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, yes, am I now getting also sucked into what people got sucked to with Liver King? Whereas because this guy's super honest.
It's like the hype.
Yeah, it's the hype, and he's super honest and super brutal. And you talk about how bad juice was, and you'll admit that he was on when he was competing. Then it makes you think, okay, well, he's being so honest about that. That means he can't be lying now.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You give some honesty, and then everything must be taken as honest. Yeah, but it's interesting. I wonder, in the fitness industry, in this health and space, in this space, whether the people that grow quickly, should we listen to everything of them saying, or the person that's growing consistently? Because a consistent message will be slower to grab attention.
Because it's not using clickbaity type
100%.
things like the news does.
Yeah. So
like, that's super polarizing. Anything I think anything in general, anything that has a massive rise in a really short period of time can't be good.
Got to be careful.
Or something's going to happen in a
100%.
negative way. If we look at, artists, Justin Bieber,
Yeah.
having that massive rise at such a young age, he might have had a billion different new stresses in his life and couldn't
100%.
cope with it.
Yeah.
If you suddenly get 1 million followers overnight, you're going to have so much more money coming in. You're not going to be able to handle
100%.
it better. So I think if anything happens quickly overnight, there's
100%.
something a bit off.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you look at business, depends on what business it is, but there's no way you would be able to now have 1 million clients because you don't have the
100%.
framework to cope with
100%,
it. So
yeah.
something weird happened for you to have gone to that point, or
Yeah.
like there's always some trade-off of that's too good to be true.
I don't think it's all that's made out to be. You know what I mean? Like, if 2 years ago, suddenly my following went to 500,000 and I had 1,000 people want to be coached by me a month, I don't think I would have been able to. I definitely wouldn't have been able to cope because I wouldn't have been ready for it. So I think as much as we do want to grow fast, I'm sure you want to grow fast, I also think if you grow too fast, it will then end up ruining you because you're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
a mental, emotional maturity standpoint.
No, absolutely, because you've also, in terms of business, you've built the framework. If we look at the parallels of business and the mind, you've built the framework within the business to cope with the increase in clients.
Yeah.
Whereas 2 years ago, you might not have had the framework.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
when we were still sending clients PDFs,
Yeah.
and they were customized for each client. Like you
Yeah.
can't build 1,000 PDFs in a day.
No.
But now that you got the framework of apps and a catalog of videos
Yeah.
that you can assign,
Can
then
leverage time.
there's time you can become way more efficient to be able to scale.
Yeah.
So it's just you would not ever been able to scale, and your mind also won't be able to scale because there's not the framework of okay, I know how to deal with more money now, or I know how to deal with more stress, or I know how to deal with more difficult people. So the mind also needs to develop along the way as well.
To like evolve with it as a person.
Yes.
You know?
So in terms of you, what's your, because Adele and I were talking earlier, and she said we must talk about it now, is the cheat meal stuff, and how I was saying, because she said, do I have a good relationship with food?
Yeah.
And to a large degree, I do. But there's definitely times, and it's so difficult to establish what is a healthy relationship.
It's
with
very
food.
dynamic.
Yeah, it's
and different
yes,
for
and
everyone.
it's constantly changing your relationship with
100%,
food.
yeah.
And her question made me think like, okay, it's easy for like I'm not thinking about sugar or unhealthy stuff, or even in the unhealthy aspect of being healthy. I'm not overthinking about I have to be strict, I have to be this, I have to be that. But on a Saturday, as we mentioned earlier, I will allow myself to eat whatever I want, and then maybe at the end of the day, I'll be like, okay, I didn't have to eat that much. Why?
But do you think because of the excessive work you do, like we spoke, you run and train every day, do you think by the end of the week, your body is then signaling you to take in that excess calories?
Yeah, I think there's certain times. So if I wake up leaner the next day, then I'll be like, okay, cool, I deserved how much I ate. But if
So do you think that's healthy then?
Well, I think in terms of giving my body what it needs, yes. But if I'm constantly thinking about the cheat meal and like I don't think it's but also, and that's also the interesting about fat loss and bodies in general, is just because my body fat is low on the outside doesn't mean internally my body's healthy.
Yeah.
Because
we've competed, look great, but I felt horrendous.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And also in terms of, like, if we look at flexible dieting, you can lose weight eating 1,800 calories of sugar. Yeah. But internally, your body's not going to be as healthy as what you look like on the outside.
100%.
So my body on the outside, like, even if I wake up leaner after eating, let's say, 10,000 calories on a Saturday, it may be like, okay, cool, I deserve that. My body is thanking me for it because it's not holding water or whatever. But maybe internally, or maybe, but also I think if I'm not holding water, my body handled the sugar or whatever. Because there was no more, if there was no inflammation, clearly I didn't eat too much.
Yeah.
So then in terms of the physical response to it, healthy, but maybe the mental response is not, because then the next day I want more. Or so, like, I often find myself allow myself on a Saturday to cheat.
Yeah.
But then a Sunday I find myself thinking about it. And then I'm thinking, okay, am I thinking about eating sugary things because my body needs it because of me burning so many calories every single day? Or is it me just the addiction of the sugar.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, relationship with food is such a complicated subject. And, you know, I talk about it a lot with clients, and I think about it a lot because I obviously had a really bad one. And it's very difficult to define. It's very difficult to explain to people. And a lot of people don't ask themselves those questions to avoid trying to deal with it. Like, I see it all the time in coaching and online, where you see people be like, oh, the diet's going to fix me. It's like, no, not really. Like, there are 1,000 different meals you could eat to get to the same result. It's more about, you know, what is your issue with food? And I see it sometimes when clients come to me and I ask them questions and they're like, holy shit, this is difficult. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm making you think about these things that you've tried to avoid for so long. So, yeah, it's such a complicated subject, man. And like you say, it changes. Mine's changed so much.
What's your space in you? What space are you now with food? Obviously, you're looking great, so I can see. Obviously, you. Yeah. Relatively. You relative. Okay, we both aren't competing.
Yeah.
So we both are. Let's say. Okay, I would say you may be probably a bit leaner than me, but
you're leaner for sure.
Well, your legs are definitely leaner than mine.
I've seen your back. Oh, my back looks like a turtle.
But see, that's what's interesting in terms of like where you hold fat and everything, 100%. Because I hold on my stomach.
Yeah.
So I'll see someone with like a shredded abs, but then their legs, there's no definition. And then I'll see the abs and be like, oh, they're leaner than me. But then I didn't actually look at, okay, my shoulders are way more striated than theirs.
So
okay,
I think
my legs
we look at our flaws, because I look at you running with your back and I'm like, shit, he's shredded.
And I looked at my back and thought it looked terrible because it looked small.
And then you looked at my legs and thought Dave's shredded. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's interesting.
And that's also where this comparison comes in.
Yeah.
But also, I don't, like, let's say I look at your legs or I look at a particular body part of anyone and say, okay, that looks better than me. I'm in the space now, at least, where I don't beat myself up for it. Oh, yeah. I just use it as, okay, cool, let me drive it. It's not, oh no, I better eat less. It's maybe just be more serious about what you're doing then.
Yeah, same for me. It's not a place of like insecurity anymore. Yes. Someone looks better.
It's just like you want to progress and be better.
That person looks great. I should probably up my standards. Not because they look great, but it does expose you a little to know that you should up your standards. Yeah. But I think at the moment, I think the thing for me is just respecting myself and also understanding that the better I treat myself with the food I consume, the better I perform.
What do you mean by like treating yourself better?
So for me, to get out of that whole bodybuilding scene with the, you know, the heavy restrictions, and I just couldn't get out of it, I used flexible dieting to get me out of that space where I started to trust food again. I was like, oh, I can still be in shape and be really, really flexible, but took the flexibility too far to the point where I was being disrespectful to myself.
Okay.
So I was eating stuff that was low quality, justifying it because of convenience or taste or whatever my excuse would have been. But then I was very tired, very inconsistent, stressed, not sleeping well because of, yes, I might have been taking 3,000 calories, but it wasn't 3,000 really good ones, you know? And then now I'm at the point where I just eat like the best food I can. I'm happy to eat it because I get to.
And at least you're in a country where it's
much better
available.
Now. Just go buy like tons of fillets and I'm happy. But I get to. Like, that's my perception now with food. It's like I get to eat the good food. I get to perform well. I get to work hard. So it's more like a circle that goes around, you know?
And I find myself in that instance, you know, going also back to the cheat meals, is during the week when I haven't had, you know, much sugar in my diet or whatever, I appreciate even just a fillet so much more.
Yeah.
The moment I have, let's say, a donut or whatever, that fillet isn't as nice.
100%.
Like if I had to have a donut and then a braai, not as nice. But if I haven't had anything that's been processed or artificially
100%.
made, and I do have a braai and it's just the clean organic foods, that food is so much better. I mean, I'm sure you found it as well. Every human has, where they'll consume some sugar and they'll go back for more, and the taste, the value of it it's gone. It's like a point of diminishing return where no longer each slice or pizza or whatever, it's just the taste and the flavor and the benefit mentally
drops and drops,
getting lower and lower and lower, and you kind of just keep going for more, and you're like, why do I need to? But it's like, it's there, it's nice. I know next week I'm not going to have it again. I think that's maybe the unhealthy aspect of my diet that I'm in, where it's, just eat what you want, because after tomorrow, after today, you can't have it again. Because I can't do moderation. It's just the person I am.
With food. Or with life in general? Or?
Life in general. With absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely got an addictive personality. So it's...
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
Happily.
But I think large portion of maybe entrepreneurs do have an addictive personality, because you can see your actions control certain things. Your actions, and you get addicted to the rewards. You get addicted to the dopamine. You get addicted to so much. And that's also... why I think we had those negative points in our lives, because we
went in the wrong direction.
Yes, and you got addicted 100%. To the wrong things, and then you realize those addictions and those easier choices that brought about quick
100%.
Feelings of whatever hormone weren't actually long-lasting. Whereas the feeling you get from a sustained diet or sustained training plan or sustained effort in business far supersedes any little bit of instant pleasure that those other addictions that we might have had 100%. Gave us.
I think I haven't got that, like you maybe said, your one, the food addiction, because I struggle to eat a lot in one sitting anymore. So I can't, luckily, go down that avenue that if I have one chocolate, it's going to lead to like 8 pizzas. Because if I have one pizza, I can barely finish the one pizza. So, you know what I mean? But maybe if I started running every day like you and pushing it on the limit.
No, but my stomach has definitely shrunk, especially with fasting as well. I mean, obviously, eating 2 meals a day or 3 meals a day, even though they're like 1,000 calorie meals.
Yeah, they're decent.
It's big meals, but like a meal would be,
you're also eating whole foods.
Whole foods. So it's...
The volume is so much bigger.
Yes. But I mean, also, it can be relative, it feels small for me. Because I've always, for the last like 6 years, had 2-3 meals. So for me, having 500 grams of steak, 3 eggs, 30 grams of nuts, and almonds, and then that's a meal without carbs, let's say. That for me doesn't feel filling. Like three boiled eggs goes down, like it doesn't fill me at all.
Doesn't touch sides.
But when I do have like couscous and stuff, like, because that's my go-to carb. I love couscous.
You love couscous,
and it's also just so quick. It's so quick. I don't have to just put the boiling water in, and that's it. So when I have like the couscous, it's more filling for me. It's because it's carb, it's more dense. It's more filling, and it feels. But I mean, it's only like 100 grams raw weight.
Yeah, which is still not even. Considering you're eating twice a day, it's still not that much.
Which is still not a lot, and that's why I know I can definitely eat more. But I've with my health journey, to go into like the nutrition aspect and the running and all of that, I've tried to eat as clean as possible, stay as lean as possible. Perform as best as possible. So
you want it all.
Yeah, so I want it all. So the way I eat and the calories I eat and consume is, okay, be in a deficit, that's cool. Get your body fat low, great. But if performance starts to be inhibited in any way, eat more. Then I need to eat more. Because I'm not going to lower the amount I train to compensate for less calories. 100%. I'm going to eat more calories to compensate for the volume that I train.
100%, yeah. No, that's, but I would call that then, you've got a like a line that you don't cross. You're not like, hey, I need to be leaner, but then your running just goes to the toilet.
Yes, so that's the thing. Like, I would put on maybe 1% or 2% of body fat so that I can perform better.
So you have got a line, which is good.
Yes.
It's purely one dimension.
Whereas the competing aspect was, it doesn't matter how tired you are, it doesn't matter what pain you feel or how dead your brain is or 100%. What like survival state you're in.
It's like a medal of honor.
Yes. And that's what's funny is, and I mean, obviously with coaching people, you've seen is you'll have a client be like, no, I want to experience the suffering. I want to experience the suck. And yes, it's cool. To get to that point, you kind of have to get to stage conditioning.
Of course.
But there's aspects of your life that you can't actually let suffer. You can't become an idiot with your partner because of your diet. You can't let your business suffer or your work quality suffer because of your diet. So there's certain trade-offs. But I think also, we've experienced the growth and the ability to be able to manage the brain fog when you're in a lower body fat, and your body does adapt. So, but I think initially people starting out want that suck, but then their life suffers to a point that's actually not beneficial for them to be shredded.
I think you just don't understand the trade-offs that come with it. And I don't want to be like this or that, but I just see it massively in the female market, especially because social media status competes when there are people that compete, that both male and female, that are really good at what they do. They seem to handle everything around them so well. Like there's some people I look at in SA compete and I'm like, how's this guy or girl so like collected, and they do all these comps and they just seem very mature about it. But then I think some people chase, like, if I compete, then I'll be recognized. You know, so it's kind of, which I did to a certain extent. I did want validation. But when you go in with the wrong reasoning and you get met with those trade-offs, sure, you accept them, but they will come back to bite you. Yeah. Which is what I found. It was always after competing, then there was like this shitstorm to deal with within myself. And, you know, it was messy.
Would you, obviously you coach people that compete, but your younger self, right? Do you do coach people who compete?
Not really. It's not, I think, you know, in my opinion, go to the best coach who specializes in what you want. Yeah. And I don't necessarily specialize in it. So if someone does come, I'll refer.
Okay, perfect. But so then would you, if you had to talk to your younger self, would you give yourself advice? Okay, let's not look at, you need to experience what you've experienced to be Dave.
So yes, 100%.
Would you give yourself would you say, no, maybe don't compete, or would you say compete? Taking away, you have to experience what you experienced to get to you now. Take away that out of it.
Yeah. Hard question.
It is.
Because you've gone through the experience. I think I would want if I could mentor myself and say things back, if that makes sense. I feel the things I had around me were fine, but I think I would have loved to have someone come speak to me at that age and just say certain things that could have saved me a lot of pain and suffering. But like you said, maybe the pain and suffering is part of the journey. Had to happen.
So none of it was that bad that you regret, like any pain or any emotional anguish that you went through with other people or yourself, was that bad that you would change any of it? Or is there anything that you look back and be like, okay, obviously we all know we had to experience what we experienced to be who we are today, but let's take that out of it as well. You know, what aspects from competing did you not like the most?
Depends how much I want to expose myself. So I've found, because I isolated myself so much when I competed, to the point where it was ridiculous, you know, I found that
you became like a full monk.
I then went the opposite way afterwards, where it was uncontrollable. You understand?
So it was more the backlash almost after the competition.
That 100%. I think if I could change that, because a lot of it didn't help me grow. It was just self-inflicted stupidness. If that makes sense.
Like, I can do what I want now, so I'm going to.
Yeah, it didn't help me grow. It was dumb. Like, I regret that part where it was just, I didn't know how to have any kind of social balance, if that makes sense. Yeah.
But it's the same as the nutrition thing, and that's why people rebound so bad off the shows.
100%.
Because it's like, well, there's no reason now for me to be strict or to follow the diet. So then they do rebound, and you basically did like a social rebound.
Yeah, where it was like, I just want to be out. And you know what I also think sometimes? I think to myself, maybe because I wasn't getting that validation, that I then wanted validation. Because
you were looking your best, you were, you know, showing the most amount of discipline and sacrifice. But 99% of the world didn't even know that Dave is now being as driven and as hard and looks as good as he does.
I think I knew I couldn't sustain the look that was bringing me the validation, which I felt, or I can say with certainty, that was a part of it. Because I couldn't sustain that, I then went out to try to find the validation, you know?
I had this thought the other day, and it was because I've also isolated myself a lot while I've trying to be growing this businesses. I haven't been like partying. I haven't been, you know, frivolous.
Same for me. And Nadette, our social life is
we're not frivolous with our money. We're not, you know, spending it on bottles at clubs. And it was actually, and it just shows, and to get that validation, right, you have to go in the monk mode, or you have to go in the isolation period. Because like on New Year's, it was nice. I saw a few people I haven't seen in very long.
Yeah.
And they gave me so many compliments about like
Who you're becoming.
who I've become and the growth or whatever
100%.
in that time period since I've seen them.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have got those compliments and got any validation if I wasn't isolating myself to a degree to build and to grow. And so to get validation, like that's also the thing, is you have to isolate and you have to work on yourself and work on the business and work on relationships to get the validation, but the validation mustn't be the purpose of why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because then also when you get that validation, it's kind of like either it's addictive if you're just working for the validation, or it's not enough.
But I also think the validation that you chase from other people, it's very superficial validation.
Yeah.
It might be a like on social media, a comment. It might be someone staring at you when you drive past in your car. It's fleeting moments of validation. Whereas that validation, when you're not going for validation, it's someone you deeply know saying, Jesse, doing a great job. That's not fleeting. That's something very personal.
Yes, because you're doing it because you love the journey of it.
Reasons, yeah.
And that compliment is like, okay, cool. I'm doing it. What I'm doing, the sacrifices I'm making, it is worth it because I'm growing and I'm developing and I'm making certain sacrifices for aspects of my life to grow. So
what drives you then? If it's not the validation.
What drives me is trying to, so there's this interesting book, I forgot the name, but there's certain like driving forces.
Yeah.
So I want to be a disruptor.
Okay.
So a disruptor.
In your story that
yeah. So a disruptor is one of the traits. Like other people are driven by status, money. Obviously, so I basically just want to do things myself, and just to make whatever possible things happen. Like
Would you say you want to build?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to, like, with this podcast studio, I want to be a disruptor of industry, essentially.
Yeah.
So I want to I want to make the mold of what a podcast studio should be, essentially. So I want to develop into that. I don't want to have the best, I don't want to have the podcast studio that makes the most money. Obviously, if I can be a disruptor, maybe I will make the most money, but that's not my driving force. Like, I don't want to have the podcast studio that has the most clients. I want to have the podcast studio that all other podcast studios mold and try copy.
You don't want to be the busiest for the sake of being the busiest.
Yes, I don't want
to be the leader.
Yes, I want to be like, the pioneer, not maybe like I want to, like, with obviously Elon Musk is rich and all of that, but he has changed the shape and changed how everyone and everyone's copying him with electric cars and all of that. Like with doing that, he has made tons of money, of course.
You've got to think. I also think about someone like that. He sold PayPal and could have retired.
Exactly.
All money problems are solved.
So he wasn't also in it for money.
Why did he then go through all of this like crazy to create more?
Yeah.
You know what
I mean? That's also another aspect of what drives me, is just being driven. So in a past relationship, an issue was that I worked too much.
Yeah.
And I didn't go out and drink. I didn't want to go out and drink.
You weren't normal.
I wasn't normal.
Yeah.
And maybe I did have a problem with going out and drinking too much. Like, let's say her going out and drinking too much. Like, maybe I did have a problem with that. But that was also maturity of the time. But I wouldn't now be with someone like that. But I said to her, like, but this is what I love. I love working. I really enjoy working. I enjoy building. Like, what does it matter that I enjoy on a Friday night working? Like, I'm not doing it for validation or any of this. I enjoy seeing what my actions can create.
Do you feel like you have no choice, but do you feel like it's just something you must do?
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like I have no option but to work, because I feel happier when I'm working. I feel like I'm progressing as a human being by the more effort I put into anything.
Yeah.
The more effort I put in, I have to be putting in effort. I have to be making sacrifices. As a human, I just feel like I'm driven by sacrifice. I'm driven by
the grind.
Yeah, I like the grind. And there's nothing wrong with that. And society, obviously we see this, like celebrities or wealthy business people that society idolizes. But obviously the vast majority never want to make the sacrifice to be like those people. But then when the vast majority, let's say our friends, see us trying to work as hard as them, they're like, no, you're doing it wrong. But it's like, you can't idolize them. 100%. But then when I'm trying to work to be like them, you villainize me.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think, how can I say? If you try to fit in, if you're someone that feels like there is no other choice, I must do this. If you then try to fit in with everyone else's expectations, you're going to be super unhappy. Like, why aren't you coming to get fucked up on Saturday night? Oh, well, I've got important things happening on Monday and I want to do X, Y, and Z. I think, you've got to be willing to just be different and accept that. If your difference is to have fun, then go do that. If your difference is to just work your nuts off, then accept it. Because I also had an issue with I wouldn't say identity, but like I wanted to fit in, and fitting in meant doing things with other people that I might not have loved and knew it was moving me backwards, but I just felt like, well, I must fit in. But then you have to isolate yourself, because otherwise, how do you not isolate yourself if you want to be who you want to be?
You can't be everywhere at once.
Yes.
You can't be out drilling and have your business growing.
No.
Like, until you've got your business to a massive level where you can be, it's 100% running and flourishing without you.
Yeah.
But no one can get it to that point by being the person that goes to the club or being the person that sleeps late every morning or, or watches series every night. Like,
but then I think sometimes if you created the studio and it's pumping and you built it and it's your baby and someone else runs it and you got no problem, I highly doubt you would then go drink party because you can.
Yeah.
It's just not who you are.
Yeah.
You would probably build something else. And I sometimes think to myself, I don't get a huge amount of holidays just like you. Like, it is what it is. But I sometimes think to myself, fuck, I'll probably be unhappy on holiday to a certain extent.
I catch my dad. He says to me, because I've definitely got all of my traits from him, seeing him in his business and everything.
100%.
But he'll see people that maybe like one of his friends has like a 4x4 camper that they just travel South Africa now. So my dad will look at him and be like, I wish I didn't care as much or have as much drive so that I can go do that. I'm like, no, you don't.
Present in doing that.
Yes, but I'm like, no, but you don't, because if you did want to, you would be. You actually do not.
Yeah.
You don't want to go and travel, because on holiday, you tell me, oh, no, we need to go back from the beach because you want to check your emails and you want to check this client, whatever. It's like, that's what you want to do. And in a society, people should be able to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Like that guy that goes on the 4x4 with his wife and whatever, great. Let her do that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to a David Goggins interview, or like a clip from his Huberman interview.
Yeah.
And he was just saying, and I think because obviously Adette knows this about you and she's obviously experienced it, but I, getting into a new relationship, would have to, they have to be aware of the person that you are.
Yeah.
Like, and
you're true.
And you're true. You're true to yourself, and you're not going to change for that person, because if you try change for that person, you're not going to give that person what they deserve, because you're constantly going to have be putting on a false face or whatever.
You're going to be in conflict with yourself.
Yes, because you're constantly going against your nature and what you like doing.
100%.
So, and that's also where you just have to be like, and own who you are. You have to be like, I am someone that loves working. I am someone that, maybe will on a Saturday miss that bribe because I want to be in my studio making sure that everything's okay. I am that person. So if you are okay with that, then maybe we can be together. But if you aren't, then you need to find someone else.
But at least if you can be honest with the person from day one, or not day one, literally.
Yeah, but it's tough to do that.
Of course. And they're willing to accept that. I know for me and Adette, we sat down and I said to Adette, like, listen, this year is going to be difficult. There is going to have to be a lot of sacrifice. We're both going to be busy. Now, when Adette and I are both busy or working hard, we can get a little bit irritable. So I just say we have to have patience. We have to be able to tell each other and call each other out when those things happen, and not just be blind to it. Like, oh, but we must grind, we must work hard. No, we need to make sure that we are aware that certain things are going to happen. We know we're going to behave a certain way, so let's address it as we go along. Yeah. So,
and that's also that communication. we've all seen many relationships, and we've obviously also been in relationships where there isn't good communication. And I think in my relationships previously, where they've suffered, the communication is the problem. And it's more from the male perspective I've seen.
Yeah, it's hard though, because I think sometimes we're not taught how to communicate.
Yeah.
Not that anyone should teach us, but like conflict resolution. Most of the time, you can have a conflict with a coworker and it can be resolved. But when you're having it with your partner, it's a different conflict because you both got an agenda. You're both trying to win. You've both been raised differently. So yeah, I agree. Definitely 100%. Conversation. Oh, sorry. Would you say communication?
Yes.
Lacks at most relationships that fail, I would say.
Yeah. And I've seen, and I mentioned it on the podcast once, but maybe if people even watching till this point, but it was unspoken expectations of future arguments or whatever.
100%.
And I've seen that exactly where, I wouldn't voice my opinion or I wouldn't voice a grievance about a particular thing. And then I will be upset with the girl because when it becomes an argument or I make it an argument, I'm like, how did you not know about this? Why aren't you reading my mind? And it's actually, no, it's my fault for not communicating what this issue I have is.
Yeah.
Because if I don't communicate what the issue I have with a particular situation is, and it comes up later, I can't be upset that it's come up in a big thing. Yeah. Because I didn't communicate it.
Told her.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The previous time. Yeah. Yeah. But it's interesting. Relationships are super interesting.
Yeah. But that's also that, fortunately, you've obviously got each other, but, and you've also been in stages where that isolation and those trade-offs. So you wouldn't be, let's say you guys hadn't met, you wouldn't be trading off, I'm assuming, the amount you work or the sacrifices you make and be like, okay, no, I don't want to work on a Friday night, or I want a partner. Yeah. Or you want the partner that fits into the life. Yeah. So you can't be like, okay, well, I need to stop doing what I'm doing so that I can find a partner and then that partner can suit my life. It's do what you do. And if someone fits the mold of how you love to live, they will suit it. Because
there's a little room for compromise. Sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely compromise in terms of, she wants, let's watch a movie tonight. It's a Friday night. We don't have to work. Yeah. Like those kind of compromises, or 100%. The compromise of general relationship compromise. Yeah. But it shouldn't be, I'm going to sacrifice or I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing because I'm not going to find a partner. Yeah. Like I need to go out and drink maybe a few times a week so that I can find a girl.
Someone. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. That's what I did to a certain extent when I was isolated.